So let's move on to what you are known for the most. Let's talk about Good Times, America's favorite black father. That's you're the favorite. I don't care what nobody say, and they've had others that I liked very well. But as uh, a watcher, viewer, for a lot of people, the thing that I always enjoyed was, you want a man to be a man. Be a man. And being a man means, to me, you take care of your family, you don't take much stuff, and you really, really love your wife, which you portrayed all of that. Your little dumpy wife, you were crazy about her. Yeah. She was crazy about you. Your kids, Michael the Radical, JJ the jokester, and that voluptuous, beautiful Thelma. Lord have mercy. There was Pam Grier, and then there was Thelma.
Amen. Look,
amen. And you had your little house, and you were doing the best. That apartment, was that supposed to be what?
In the projects.
Yeah. Of
Cabrini Green.
Cabrini Green. That's what I thought. It looked very similar to Cabrini Green. Actually.
Oh, they did an excellent job duplicating the environment.
And they reduplicated it recently with the Good Times.
Yeah.
They really did a good job on that set.
Yes, they did.
At what point did you decide that you were going to pursue acting professionally? You'd been writing these poems. You knew that you had a way with words. You knew that your words could affect people. So how did you decide, I think I'm going to, this is what we want to know. How did you take all that other regular stuff and then move into, I'm going to be an actor? Did you do theater?
Yes, I did.
And so when you did theater, did you get a feeling that I'm in the right place?
Doing theater was a cakewalk for me because I love performing in front of an audience. I guess I was a compulsive performer.
You a good memorizer?
I was at that time. It's somewhat diminished as I've gotten older.
Look, me too.
Yeah.
Cue cards, anybody? I'm with it.
Thank you.
So, so now you auditioned, you did some plays, and how did the job come about? Did you see it in a casting? Did somebody recommend you for it? How did that come about?
Which particular job?
Good Times.
Oh yeah, well I mean the word got out that they were auditioning actors for it, and I got a call that specifically asked me to come in and read.
So you had an agent?
Yeah.
And you were living in
Los Angeles at that time.
Okay.
And Esther Rolle had already been cast. Of course, it was her show. Mm-hmm. So they were really looking for a husband for her. Mm-hmm. And
do you remember who you auditioned against?
I don't know who the competition was, but after I read with Miss Rolle, she said, turned to Norman Lear, who was in the other room, and said, "That's it. That's my husband." Mm-hmm. And that was it. I got the job.
Did y'all have a loving relationship in real life? Were you good or
no?
We
were just professionals. In real life, we were very fond. I was fond of her. I mean, I had a tremendous amount of respect for her because, well, she had come from very modest means, mm-hmm. As she was growing up, and as she grew into a woman, and when Norman Lear found her, she had never done television before. Mm-hmm. She had never done any appreciable amount of stage work. So she was pretty much a novitiate when she got the job on Good Times. And after it was decided by Mr. Lear that we would be husband and wife on that, we'd established a tremendous rapport. But to show you the reality of the times, they would do a pilot, what they called a pilot in those days, where you'd shoot an episode and they would test it before an audience. And it might be a 2 or 3 week wait before you found out what the outcome was, whether mm-hmm. or not you were going to be picked up and become a series, or whether or not it was just, that's it. Mm-hmm. So the bottom line was we were both collecting unemployment at that time, myself and Miss Rolle. And we, as God would have it, our time for picking up our unemployment check was the exact same time. I think it was every other Thursday at 2 o'clock or something like that. On McCadden Place in Los Angeles. So there we are, leaning on the fence at the unemployment office, waiting to find out if the thing is going to become a series. And that's when we really bonded, because she she said, "What do you think the chances are?" I said, "If I know television at all, and I quite frankly I'd done an appreciable amount of television before Good Times. I'd worked on other shows, the Mary Tyler Moore Show, Tim Conway, etc. And when
Yeah, on Mary Tyler Moore, were
I
you a
was Gordy the
newscaster?
Weatherman.
The weatherman.
Yeah,
I remember that.
everybody always thought that I was a sports.
Newscaster. Yeah.
No, they thought I was a sportscaster. You know, being a fairly big guy and having played football, they assumed that I was. That was a running gag that Gordy was the sportscaster, and I'd say no, I'm the weatherman,
Weatherman.
and that kind of set him back a little bit. But it worked out fine. That was one of my favorite jobs, working as
You
Gordy the
enjoyed working
weatherman.
with Mary Tyler Moore?
Absolutely, she was. You could see why she had become an American icon.
Yeah, I loved her.
Hmm.
So then they had to cast the children
For Good
and
Times.
Walona.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you too, Alona.
Yeah. And were you happy with those choices? Did anybody audition that this is years later now, like you're free. Is there anybody audition that you wish had got it and like
No, to tell you the truth, the only casting that I was dubious about, or not so much dubious, I didn't know where he was coming from, was was Jimmie. No one had ever seen him at that time, and at that time he was emaciated. I mean, he looked like a beanpole,
he did?
and I mean, he was.
That's why when Jay Farrow played him, I'm like, these skinny jokes don't work on Jay Farrow because Jay Farrow's built like the Hulk. And they were saying how skinny he was, but that was, the dialogue from the previous script.
Yeah.
JJ was very, very skinny.
Very skinny. Very skinny. But he was funny, and they bought his act, so he was my oldest boy in the show.
Walona was a wonderful character as well.
Yes, she was.
Loved Walona.
I loved working with her. Janae Dubois is an incomparable actress.
She's a good egg. She's a good egg.
Great sense of humor, great timing.